I'm getting better and better on them fades.
Dude, you're getting so good at it.
I know the music now.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back. I think this is our 11th show on the V.O.C. Live here.
Woo!
11 of them. Who would have thought we'd have 11 by now? Some people probably would have thought that we'd be off air by now, but that's not how it works.
Big numbers. Big numbers.
That's right.
We run through big stuff. We do stuff. Full house here. Jerry, Trevor, Jonathan's back. Look at it. Everybody, somebody last week was like, oh, it's good to have everybody back. I'm like, calm down. Okay. Calm down.
I thought it was nice. It was cute.
This is what we do. Everybody's on the road except for me, it feels like. Jerry is back in the Pope's hometown of Chicago. Trevor is in.
Hey, Sox are back, right, Jerry?
I don't know what you say for Edwardsburg.
No. Sox are just trying to win more than 40.
God's plan, right?
God's plan.
Let's calm down here. But we start this show with breaking news. No breaking news sound. We don't have that yet. We don't do that kind of stuff. But Scotty Scheffler has won his third major. He won the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow. Pretty sure that's how you pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
Making it his third major of his career. He kind of wins by a landslide, won by 5 strokes. Best player in golf in the last 3 years, I'd say. I know the big knock on him was, Scotty can't win a major outside of Augusta. Well, he just proved that. He makes the hard stuff look easy. Yesterday was a masterpiece, I would say. Today was him going around playing, and he ended up winning it.
Easiest. This was just a pretty simple major. He played the most consistent golf all week. Never really struggled. Had his great third round. And today I think he was now stays even. And everyone else around him slowly crumbles. John Rahm gave him a little bit of a run, right? Get to 9 under, then he crumbles away. There's a beauty and consistency, but that's what Scotty Scheffler really is. He doesn't hit a lot of bad shots. He doesn't score really super high on many holes. It's a bogey at worst. And that type of stuff wins you majors here and there. And finally did it outside of Augusta, but it was bound to happen. This is a guy who finishes top 5 in PGA consistently, finishes high in majors consistently. You keep doing those things, you're going to end up winning a couple. Now you can just say it's not Augusta.
I think it's a pretty big flex that people say you can only win at Augusta.
Yeah.
If I only won at Augusta, I'd be totally fine with that.
No, I agree, but I think nowadays you have these people that and I don't know if it's just because growing up in the Tiger era or whatever, but it's he only wins at this place, So I will say this year he didn't get arrested going into the PGA. So he had that going for him. Now he did wear orange. I think Nike did that on purpose with a bunch of the guys, but not getting arrested, look what happens. Consistently, and we've seen it the last, I would say, 10 years in golf for these guys go on these runs, right? Where they win 2 or 3 majors, or Brooks Koepka won 5, and Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas and Xander Schauffele last year. These guys go on these runs of majors and wins, but Scotty just feels different. He consistently wins on the PGA Tour. I think he won 8 or 9 times last year. He's only won once outside of the major, I think, this year. So it's been a slower start for him. But yeah, to only win at Augusta, that's not a bad caveat at all. I don't know why people are he only wins at Augusta. Yeah, okay, great. Well,
it's you only ever win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what he can do for the rest of his life? He can go there and he's got 2 green jackets to wear. Okay.
Yep.
Called flame. Next subject.
Calm down, okay? People love golf. Look at this. Look at this. Luke Oxy, thoughts on Rory using a legal driver and should his green jacket be revoked?
Did he put Vaseline on it?
No. So
should have. It works every time.
I was talking to Luke Oxy. About this yesterday. Hoxie now is saying that it's an asterisk on the Masters for the rest of Rory's career. I don't know about all that, but it is interesting.
You ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Well, that's exactly right. Some people cheat and get caught. And Jerry, you may know this because you're a big time golfer. I know you. Do they randomly select people? That's what Luke Oxy said.
I think so. And I don't know. Honestly, I don't have the performance enhancing golf rules off to the back of my head here. But that seems on brand. But also Augusta had a whole week to figure out if he was using a performance enhancing driver, if there's really something that was a problem. So he played 4 whole rounds plus extra golf. If at that point they can't figure out that he's using a driver that hit 5 miles, not 5 miles, but 5 yards farther.
Is it
kind of hard for me to argue?
The degrees on the.
I can't believe he was giving his driver steroids.
That's rough.
Vaseline helps
That's
straight out
terrible.
the ball. That's really all it does. Vaseline helps you hit it a little straighter. But like, yeah, they had so many times. There's so much time if this was a real problem for them to figure this out. So we're not going to put an asterisk on the green jacket because again, he played 4 whole rounds. The Masters have done worse technicalities to 2 players than this on weirder shit. Like then they had the Tiger whole fiasco where he dropped and everything. They did that. Like you think they couldn't figure out a driver? Like,
Yeah.
But if you want to be fun about it, yeah, this is absolutely destroy the Rory career Grand Slam because of the driver and Vaseline. That is a great fun take.
It is because I mean it's funnier because like he did play pretty bad this week. He made the cut, top 50s, struggled to hit the fairways. I don't think that really matters a whole lot. Look, I think the biggest storyline I would say, other than Scotty winning in third and kind of dominating, that's not a shock to me anymore that Scotty dominates. I'm kind of in that mode where I'm just kind of used to it. Sadly, although I'm watching greatness, I'm used to it. But it's how everybody talked up this, like, oh, all these, this guy can play good here, and Rory's won here before, and it feels like everybody they talked up was going to play good here struggled, and this was kind of one of those championships where randoms kind of did some stuff. John Rahm was involved there, Bryson DeChambeau was involved there, so you had some guys that have been involved and won some majors. Bryson has really done well the last year in majors. Pretty much top 15, I think, in everything but the Open Championship last year. So he's involved, but it's just Scotty is just at a different level right now. He's working his hips with his coach, feeling, dancing, getting a little groovy, doing what they do, and it works out. Wins his 3rd major. U.S. Open is next, and wouldn't be shocked if he wins that one either.
I'll leave us in this point before we go to the next thing. Like, I think you were talking about, Caleb, how this Scotty feels different than some of those guys that have like a really hot streak. And the reason is because he doesn't have tournaments like a lot of guys just had, like Rory, where absolutely plummets in the next major, or a lot of guys do that. Like Spieth was really hot, then he'd be like, oh, he didn't make the cut. But every tournament, you feel like Scotty's in it, or he's at the high end of the leaderboard, and that's been rewarded here at Quail Hollow. And he absolutely got 5-stroke lead in the major. That's pretty good. CBS gave us the stat that he's the only guy for his first 3 majors to win by more than 3 strokes in each of them, since some guy I couldn't even remember his name. So always good when you have to have the CBS fun fact to tell you how dominant you are. And speaking of dominating teams, get me to the NBA playoffs, Caleb.
Yeah, no, it was all threes for Scotty. That's what Jonathan said.
Threes.
It was all about threes. That's what Scotty is. And you know what's all about threes? The NBA nowadays. And that's what we're moving into.
What
Nuggets.
a transition.
Nuggets get destroyed by the Thunder.
Terrible performance.
125-93. The threes continue here.
Mm-hmm.
SGA, who's going to win the MVP most likely, 35 points. Jokic with 20 points, short of a triple-double. Thunder now move on to play the Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals.
Get demolished.
The Timberwolves are going to get demolished?
No, the Thunder.
The Thunder. Oh, this guy. Hot take city over here. Fire.
I'm hot all the
No, so the Thunder look good. I think this series was more of the Nuggets got tired than anything else. I know I talked about that last week.
I mean, when you're out of shape and that big.
Well, when you're just Jokic and you're just good at basketball, you can do whatever you want.
He was ready to go.
He's ready to go get on his horse, go back to his country. That's what he does. That's who he is.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know what I love about him? He's not quiet about it either. Like, he's honest.
He doesn't give a shit.
He's like, oh, get to go home now. Great. Yes. Basketball's over. This season has sucked. I fired my coach. We're great. Everything's great. I get to go back to Serbia. Yeah, let's do it. Hop on a plane tonight.
He doesn't give a shit.
But the Thunder, who have been the most dominant team, I'd say, all year in the NBA, outside the Cavs, they make the Cavs look even worse now because they're continuing to play.
Terrible basketball franchise.
I think. Oh, sorry. I think it's kind of a testament to, and in the league now, you kind of see like a lot of teams going and trading for guys or doing big free agency things. But I think it's pretty cool to see a team that basically drafted all these guys and have built upon this core group of dudes to be super successful. I think that's really cool.
Do you think it'll implode like the last time they did that?
Well, they might pay the luxury tax this time.
They're not playing LeBron this time, so maybe not. But
yeah, you don't have a James Harden who wants like $5 million more, and they don't want to pay it. So because that was literally what imploded the last was the Thunder mini dynasty or Big Three or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think this is more of a testament to just the Thunder being a consistent team all the way through. The Nuggets were fantastic for this. But, yeah, you run out of gas. You remember, they came off a tough 7-game series against L.A., where they outlasted L.A. in that Game 7. You saw the bones on both ends getting tired and beat up. And now, at a certain point, the Thunder are consistent. And we were talking about Scottie Scheffler earlier. Maybe not as consistent because they're so young, but a team that all year, you know what you're going to get out of them. The Nuggets can have flashes because they have the talent to do so, but they're running out of backup coach, like an interim guy who might have just gotten the job because you still push the number 1 seed to 7 games and beat a good Clippers team in 7. But you're still working under that in the midst of all this. And this team is young and fast. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will always find ways to score. He's been fantastic all year. And this is a very young playoffs going in here. That's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of different ways. Like, we look forward here now, it's the Thunder and Timberwolves, right? Obviously, the headliner, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander versus Anthony Edwards. What else is going on there in that series? You have, like, Jay McDaniels, Chet Holmgren sitting in there. So many fun guys. That this will be a good conference round on the West side and the East. Obviously, Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Brunson, the Nova Knicks. You know, the White Sox aren't getting a lot of love right now, but the Villanova Knicks, Pope Leo might be rocking a little bit there. A very young – got to flex the Pope while you have them. You know, but a very young next generation-esque playoffs. When this time last week, we talked about the storylines that could be coming into the conference finals is, do you have an old versus young team if the Golden State sneaks out, which they ended up not doing, right? Or do we kind of get this next generation of players? That's what we're looking at in the conference finals. That's to be a lot of fun because, like, Anthony Edwards, he talks his stuff, right?
He's facing NBA at this point, right?
He's, I think, the face of the NBA in terms of how people talk. Like, he's perfect for TV. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander probably speaks more to Gen Z than people think because he's the guy with the cool Instagram captions and social media presence, which as you get younger and younger in the sport, that's what people look to as well. So it's like you're watching the change of hands because of, like, all these guys played AAU basketball that are on the Thunder. And not just like a little bit, like we're on the EYBL circuits playing hundreds of games at a time, which is now more what the sport has become, at least in the States. So you're getting more interesting representation of that generation now being pros and what that looks like. So we're going to have a lot of narrative setting for long-term futures, depending on how these next series go, which you don't really get often because you get teams in these tight windows. It's like, okay, they have to blow it up now because they're all old. No, 4 young cores all have a chance at a title.
Wolves in 5.
Wolves in 5.
This guy's
maybe
hot.
4.
This guy's hot central over
Book
here.
it.
Like, someone get a fire extinguisher. Like,
Book
this
it.
is ridiculous.
No,
I didn't know we hired Skip Bayless for this show today.
I don't care about the Eastern Conference either.
No, I mean, I don't think it'll be Wolves in 5. I think it's going to be a good series. To Trevor's point, though, it's, you know, I think we thought about this 20 years ago in sports where it's like build the core, draft the guys, build it yourself. And then, especially in the NBA, we got away from it, I would say, with the Celtics big 3 and then LeBron big 3. And then it was like, oh, we need big 3, we need a big 3, we need a big 3, we need a big 3. Now it's like, no, you need depth in the NBA on top of stars. So now you're seeing these teams with 1 star, maybe 2 stars in depth. And that's
so how it used to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
what I grew up on.
Yeah, history always repeats itself, right? And this is kind of the history repeating itself in the NBA where it's like you have these teams where it's like, okay, we have these core players and these young guys and let's build them together. And, you know, every day it's still like, oh, should a team trade for this guy or this guy or this guy? The 4 teams outside the Knicks, they've kind of done that. But the other 3 teams have built the teams together. They've kind of grown these teams, figured out the right pieces, added some stuff, and kind of let them mold together, and it's been very fun to watch. I think it also helps with people watching the NBA too. You know the team's a little bit better, kind of grew up with the team a little bit more. I mean, I'll go and say I think the Thunder are going to beat the Timberwolves. I think it'll be in 6 games.
You're wrong.
If the Thunder beats the Timberwolves in 6 games, and it just feels like the Knicks year to go to the finals.
Oh God,
so I think the Knicks are going to beat the Pacers also in 6 games. So I think we're going to have a Thunder-Knicks series. I don't know who's going to win it yet. You're going to have to wait 2 weeks for however long the NBA's playoff calendar is for me to let you know. But that's just what I think. I think it's the Knicks year, them beating the Celtics. Celtics, RIP to Jason Tatum's Achilles. We're now set back for like 5 years as a franchise.
Let me go back and ask you guys a question. When you guys seen the video of him being wheelchaired back to the locker room, what was your first thought?
Paul Pierce having to poop.
Did everybody else
Yep.
think he had to take a SAT?
No, because if you watch the game, you knew he was crying on the floor for 10 minutes, and it wasn't Joe Mazzulla telling him to get up this time.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't
No,
different than everybody
no,
else.
everybody. No, that moment is infamous.
I thought he was going to take poo.
No, he wasn't. No.
Now that clip out of context gives you Paul Pierce poop vibes. But if you don't know
100%.
anything else, like if you don't know anything else in that moment, you're like, oh my God, here he goes again. Like another Jason Tatum moment that was done somewhere else. But no, obviously seen right beforehand when he's grabbing his leg and spinning around. You're like, yeah, probably not having to go to the bathroom. That's
And Tatum copies a lot of people too.
He does.
When
He
you
does.
think about it, so I thought he was just being a copycat.
No, he copies greats. That's what he does.
He
If he's
does.
going to copy anybody's greats, he's a great player. RIP to his Achilles and RIP to the franchise for the next 5 years.
Think so?
Yeah, probably. We're going to be set back now. They want to blow it up. That's just how it is. Oh, here's a comment. Nolan Mark, fellow Celtics fan. Creepy photo, Nolan Mark. Tell John
F
JT
boy.
would put his, right, and even in his that Achilles.
JT would put it.
He's gonna put his right on him, even with that
I don't-
Achilles.
Judging by your picture again, I mean, I understand that you go that way, but I've been happily married for 12 years, homie.
Hey, we don't discriminate, but that
No,
picture
we
is
accept
pretty
it.
lure. That's a
It
lure
is.
picture.
It
I
is.
mean, that
He's-
guy lures.
He's gonna have an
people.
ice cream stand soon.
He's gonna drive around in a van with white and no lettering.
You want a lollipop, kid? It's strawberry.
That's right.
No, Bailey.
Supposed to say no. No means no, kids. But no, I think this NBA playoffs have been fun. It's been it's kind of rebuilt my interest in the NBA, to be honest with you.
It's nice to see different teams.
It's different
and not the
teams,
same players,
but it's all
over
they're
and over and
competitive
over.
games. Like these series are going hard. Like even the Celtics Knicks series went to 6 games, and the Celtics kind of tried.
Everybody's series except
to
for the
get there.
Timberwolves.
Well, yeah, but does that mean it's too easy? Like too
I don't
easy?
I don't know,
Steph
Nick.
Curry goes hurt. You're like all about the T-Wolves over here. Like, whoa, slow down,
Just
big
saying.
homie, slow down,
I like the guy.
slow
He
down.
reminds
Yeah.
me of somebody else.
You know, you were talking about being happily married, but you and Anthony Edwards, I don't know what's going on over there. But you may be in Minnesota soon.
As
I
long
can
as you
tell
don't make
that.
me sign a prenup, we're all right.
Well, I know that
Facts.
he's not. I know he's not good when it comes to baby mamas and supporting them. So you
Well,
be screwed.
I couldn't be a baby mama considering I
Well,
am a
nowadays
biological
you
man.
never know. Nowadays you never know. I don't discriminate. This program does not discriminate. We have to be open to everything. But no, so I think it'll be Thunder, Knicks. Jonathan thinks it'll be Timberwolves.
I said 5 earlier, but I'm going 4 now.
Okay, so
Change my
Timberwolves.
mind.
Who are they going to play in the finals? Pacers, Knicks.
They're going to play Knicks. The Knicks.
Okay, so yeah.
I'll zag a little bit. Give me the Thunder in 7. I'll go Pacers in 7 as well, and I'll explain why.
That's
The
low market.
Yeah, well, yeah. Don't worry. Dallas is rebuilt, so everything's fine.
Caitlin Clark coming to him or what? Like I didn't know Caitlin Clark was going to the Pacers now.
The thing I'm going to keep an eye on, and the
Once you don't
reason
get
I'm
flagrant.
wildly interested in the East is the Pacers have a really fun and fast offense that's very hard to scheme for because it's not really coordinated. It's just a bunch of vibes and move around screens versus a team that's very, very good defensively, but as a coach who loves to try to figure out what these guys do. And the Pacers all playoffs have been kind of like they're having a fun run. You don't make it to the conference finals, smoke the number 1 seed just because you're fun. Like you got to play some real ball, and they've played some real ball. The Knicks have also been fantastic, but I'm very curious to see how a guy like Tom Thibodeau, who runs 7 deep, runs this very hard, aggressive defensive style, runs up against a fast offense that, frankly, is very tough to game plan for. They have offensive weapons that if you switch. If Mikal Bridges switches on to Tyrese Halliburton, that's fine. Pascal Siakam can take advantage. There's so many offensive weapons there that the longer this series goes, which it very well could, tough for me to count out the Pacers, especially with how dominant they've been so far.
Good take.
It's a good take. Jerry's always got good basketball takes. He knows what he's talking about. Trevor, how about you?
So well.
I'm gonna go Thunder in 6, and they will face off against the Knicks, who win in 7.
Wow. So you're the only one.
That's fine.
So
That's fine.
you and Anthony Edwards get a room. That's all I'm going to say. All right, moving on now to the NHL playoffs. We have a Game 7 in the NHL. This has been an electric series.
This is just as bad as soccer.
No, it's not. No, it's not. You don't understand what sports are then. for a guy that's such a tough guy, big scruff tough guy, trying to fight everybody all the time. When you played sports, you don't understand how it gets that.
Pretty sure I taught you that, didn't I?
You should be an enforcer. Is like what
I would love
think.
to.
Yeah, but you don't like hockey. Oh, it's just
I
best
could be
soccer.
the goon.
Oh, this guy.
It's a
Mute.
great movie.
Can we mute him for a second here?
All right.
All right. NHL. NHL playoffs. There's a game 7. The Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup
Toronto,
last
right?
year. Yeah, Toronto.
Okay.
Toronto is like historically, I would say they're like the Dallas Cowboys when it comes to hockey. They're like historically like the big brand. Everybody like, it feels like they can win every year and then they always disappoint. They've not made it to a conference final since 2002.
Long time.
They were up 2-0 in the series. They ended up losing 3 straight to Florida, but they did come back in Game 6 to force a Game 7. So there is some fight left in the Maple Leafs. I think everybody expects them to choke. They have the greatest American-born hockey player of all time in Austin Matthews on their team. It's going to be a fun one tonight. Playoff hockey is different.
Are you going to sit and watch that?
Yes, I will. That's what I do. Because, when you kind of run these sports shows and you do these kind of things. I work every day. I'm always working. I'm working right now. Trying to work a room.
Work a room?
I try to help people that, aren't as fortunate as me sometimes. So that's what I do.
That's good. I'm glad.
May or may not be doing that right now. Nobody knows.
That's why you mow that church lawn.
That's right. Because I'm all about helping what do they say?
Do that for free?
I'm paving my bricks to heaven. Jerry would know about that. Yeah, right.
I got my indulgence when the Pope got chosen. I'm free.
You're supposed to pave your bricks to heaven. That's what I do. But I think this series will be good. It'll be fun tonight. This game, it's been electric. It will be interesting to see the Maple Leafs choke again. It's playoff hockey. That's what everybody cares about. And, if anybody else has anything to say, we can move on to Brock Purdy. But,
it's hockey.
I always got to ride with the Chuck brothers, St. Louis connection, because they're from the St. Louis area. Panthers, right, if I remember, won it last year as well. So to come back here down 2-0 and then have a chance to move forward, I'm more excited in the Dallas series because that feels like 2 stars in McDavid and Miko going back and forth. So I'm really excited for that series going forward. But it's playoff hockey. Chaos ensues. That's the fun part. So it's going to be a fun Game 7. I think Game 7 in any sport's fun, but hockey where, the fourth line's just there against the best line in hockey. Stuff happens. So if you like chaos, watch that game.
Quick.
it would be good. And then I think if the Maple Leafs no, the Edmonton Oilers are still in. So like there is a big streak in the NHL right now with American based teams winning the Stanley Cup.
USA.
If the Maple Leafs lose, then that streak is a little bit yeah, the prestige of that streak going up, percentage goes up a little bit, but it'll be good.
Are we talking about soccer next, since we're on the communist sports?
No, we're not talking football. We're talking football.
No, now we're going to football. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant to Mr. Paid Now Big Time. Brock Purdy signs a new deal with the 49ers for 5 years, $265 million, $181 million guaranteed. The 49ers have kind of tried to restructure their team a little bit. V.O.C, doing some different things, releasing players and bringing them back, having the wives of those players on the team talk crap about the other wives. And now they all have to be in the same rooms together, which is very, very funny to me. But Brock Purdy gets a big deal. I wouldn't have paid him, just me, to start out with this deal here. I would have paid him like Baker Mayfield, $30-35 million. I wouldn't have paid him like a top 10 quarterback. Brock Purdy's a build-around guy, not face of the franchise, put everything on his back.
Well, he's a game manager.
Yeah, I mean, he's only like 6 foot anyways, so it's going to be a little tough.
I don't think height has that much.
But 49ers secure their quarterback for the next couple of years, and only time will tell while paying him big bucks.
What this tells me is two things. Shanahan's not leaving anytime soon, because if you're paying Brock Purdy that money and you know he's been successful under the same coach, you're not getting rid of that coach. And two, they want something certain when a lot of things are changing. That cores continue to get older and older. Obviously, because they've had success, they don't have tons of high draft capital and have it in the past. You kind of have to take swings, but you're not in like Chiefs or even Eagles territory where you're so loaded that any young guy you bring in is a slam dunk or great value. It's probably a little bit too much, but I guarantee this tells me they're trying to move some things around, because if you want to keep something stable, you have to pay to keep that stability going. This takes it out of trade rumors, because nobody's going to front up this salary, right? For a trade for a guy like Brock Purdy. And it means you believe that you're not losing Shanahan, because again, Shanahan makes a lot of quarterbacks look really, really good because they go other places and they're really, really mid. And I think Brock Purdy will probably be the same way. Maybe the best of the mid, but Cyclones are spinning right now to go from Mr. Irrelevant to over 200 million. Big day for the Iowa State Cyclones, and I don't know what the hell the 49ers are going to be doing because that's a really weird roster that has some talent, doesn't have talent in other spots, is not the same team that was trying to knock on the Super Bowl door multiple years and never finished. Is not the same team.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a mistake. I kind of like what Caleb said, where give him like a Baker Mayfield deal. And, if that goes well, then maybe. But, I think he has gaslit that entire franchise into thinking he's a quarterback that can, win a Super Bowl. I don't think he was very good last year. I don't think he's – even with all of his – I mean, you got to think, when they went to the Super Bowl, that offense was, so loaded. Mm-hmm. And even their defense was super loaded. Yeah, he's a game manager, and that can work really well. But, Jerry, like you just said, this team isn't the same team. They've lost a lot of key pieces. I don't know if there's someone you would like to draft soon, but I don't know. I think this is kind of a mistake because, like you said, Jerry, they're never in a good position to draft anyone that's really, really talented because they're always kind of in that 15 to 25 range. But yeah, I don't think this is a good deal. I don't think the 49ers are going to win more games because Brock Purdy is their quarterback.
I agree.
Well, I mean, last year was a prime example, right? Where they had a bunch of injuries around him. And I know he was hurt a little bit too, but he had a bunch of injuries around him, didn't end up being very good. Looking at the highest paid quarterbacks, he is in the 7th range,
yep.
7th, 8th range. Dak is 60 million. Joe Burrow is 55. Josh Allen, 55. Jordan Love, 55. Trevor Lawrence, 55. Tua is 53.1. Jared Goff is at 53. Mind you, none of those quarterbacks have won a Super Bowl. You go down to 51 million with Jalen Hurts. He just won a Super Bowl. So I think that the recent history when it comes to these quarterbacks and paying them is you pay them early and you kind of get out of the window of okay, now we have to give them the next up deal. I am happy that the 49ers didn't come out and say, all right, we're going to give them $60 million to make them the highest paid. That's smart. They did save some money there. But when you look at quarterbacks, the top 10 highest paid quarterbacks don't make the Super Bowl nor win Super Bowls. And I think that's the biggest thing. To me, you always go with the Tom Brady approach. I'll take a pay cut, build a team around me. If I'm making 25, 30 million, great, but I'm winning Super Bowls. I'll make more money in the back end. I think, it's always funny to me, and I talk about this all the time, where you have all these players that are like, I want to win. And then they're like, but I also want to get paid. It's it doesn't work both ways. So to be paid doesn't always mean you're going to win. So I think that's going to be an interesting thing. Dak's getting paid $60 million for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
He may win 7 games.
I was going to say, I mean, yeah, Brock Purdy's in the top 10, which he probably shouldn't be, but there are contracts that you just named that I am more upset with. Dak Prescott making $60 million a year. Now, granted, I am a giant Cowboys hater. But
Shocker.
But I don't know in what universe you think Dak Prescott's worth $60 million a year or to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
You should love him.
I do love him actually. I wish he'd play there forever.
There you go.
The thing I'm very curious about with this type of move is one, this isn't a reset the quarterback market deal, but maybe gives us a better picture of what the future quarterback market looks like. Because we may look back at this deal in the coming years as some of those guys get different and bigger contracts and go, it's maybe more of a value. But also, what is San Francisco's future? Because what you just did with this contract is you turn the guy who is Mr. Irrelevant, he's such great value. You took the last pick in the draft. You made him your starter. Now you can get all these things. You took all that away. It's on the resume, but it's not on the page. It's on the payroll anymore. He's not paid like the last pick in the draft. He is now paid like a franchise quarterback and a guy that you are going to put some future in. So you have lost the inherent he could throw a pick. He can have a bad game. He's Mr. Irrelevant. No, now he's Mr. $265 million man. Okay. So the expectation also really rises with that. And that means you have a lot of faith, both, again, in him and your coach. Because, again, we think of Shanahan as this great offensive mind. And he's turned a lot of these mid-tier guys into guys who have these fantastic stats that look like top 10 quarterbacks or at least top 15 on paper. So you really believe in him, and you really have both those guys. But what does this look like in the future? Because you don't have those core pieces, and the pieces that are still there are not young. So this is a team that starts selling at some point. I could see that. Or do they think that window's over and they want to secure one piece of the future while they rebuild? That maybe makes this make more sense. And if we look 3 years from now and some of these guys coming in have dollar amounts that are $15 million a year or more, the Brock Purdy contract may not look like much. But it looks really weird because, one, Mr. Relevant, that's now gone. And two, he's in the top 10. It may not last that way. So a lot more pressure on Brock Purdy's shoulders, but I would take the pressure if I were him to get paid $53 million a year. I think that's a pretty easy deal.
Yeah, I mean, especially in California, he's only going to get probably like $20 million anyways. So take as much as he's
Very
get.
true. Very liberal.
But I think the other thing too is from the 49ers perspective, and this is a bad way to do business, but I think that they feel like they owe something to Brock Purdy because we cannot forget that they drafted Trey Lance with the 3rd overall pick, and then drafting Brock Purdy the next year, I think it was or in the same draft, Mr. Relevant, like covered up how bad of a pick Trey Lance really was for them. Like all-time terrible pick, like one of the worst picks in the history of the NFL.
Could be the Browns' future.
Not only trading up to get him, but like doing that, it's like terrible. So I think Brock Purdy is like covered up John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan for making that decision, and I think that they sit back and we owe this guy. You don't owe him nothing. He hasn't done anything but make it to a Super Bowl, get tennis elbow in the other NFC Championship game, and force Christian McCaffrey to play against the Eagles the 1 year. Last year didn't do much. So I think that's how they view it. Now, it's a terrible way to do business, and time will tell. But, Jerry, I do agree with you. Going from Mr. Irrelevant now to, no, you're a big shot. You're top 10 quarterback paid. It's interesting. But I'll go through – okay, so I'm going to go through some of the other contracts, and you tell me who you would rather have at their dollar amount compared to Brock Purdy.
Yay, this is fun.
All of them.
So Baker Mayfield at $33.3 million.
I'd have that.
Yeah, I'd take Baker.
No brainer, right?
Yeah.
Sam Darnold at 33.5.
No.
I'd take Brock.
I'd take Brock.
You guys would take Brock. I would take Sam Darnold at 33.5 over Brock Purdy.
Oh, I see. Okay, with his contract. Okay, I got you. Yep, I messed the game up.
Geno Smith at 37.5.
I'll take Geno.
For the 49ers, I'd take Brock because Geno's so old and you have a younger guy. But
yeah,
if you're just doing a 1 year rental, Geno by a mile. But we'll stay Brock because, again, I'm looking at the 5 years here.
No, I get it. Matthew Stafford at $40 million.
Yeah, you got to take him over Brock.
I would say the thing with Brock again.
I would probably take Matthew Stafford.
I agree.
Patrick Mahomes at $45 million.
Patrick Mahomes.
No brainer. Child show.
Sorry.
No
F-U-C-K him.
No brainer. Kirk Cousins at $45 million.
Probably Brock.
I mean,
again, Brock again. This is surprisingly more quarterbacks than I thought were going to be overshadowed here by Mr. Irrelevant.
Just terrible. That's just a terrible contract. Deshaun Watson's at 46. I think we all know that. Some people have touched him.
Yeah,
Kyler Murray at $46.1 million. I'd take Brock Purdy over Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I do. I agree with that.
Yeah, I probably would too.
But it's just interesting, like all the guys now that he's paid over. You know what I mean? Like he's makes more than Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff. It's just very interesting to view it and how. Like I said, this is the quarterback market. I am happy the 49ers didn't say, okay, Dak Prescott gets paid 60, let's pay him 61. I think some teams are kind of understanding some things a little bit now, but it is interesting how these teams think about him. But no, Mr. Irrelevant to now pressure-packed, games are on your back. If you don't win, you paid him this money. It's not going to look good for everybody. This is a deal that could get everybody fired. That's just the way it is. Like, this is the type – like, the Trey Lance deal would have got most GMs fired, but then you found Brock Purdy. He saved you there. This is a deal that could very easily get you fired. But time will tell on this deal. Time will tell. But it is very, very interesting.
He'll never make
I have
it
a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember when the NBA got like a new TV deal, or it was a couple years ago, and like all the salary shot up? So these like role players were getting like $50 million for like 3 years, and like the old contracts were like, oh yeah, the same guy would get 25. That is what it really is. I look at this Brock Purdy contract feels like more and more as we kind of sit here and I look at we talk about the other quarterbacks that are making less or getting somewhat similar, a guy like Kyler Murray, et cetera, right? We're like, man, we take Brock over Kyler. Or it's like, it feels like one of those things where it's not a whole market resetter, but could tell us a lot about what other contracts look like in the coming years. Where I really now think back to those NBA deals where it was like, oh, you think that guy's worth $50 million? Like, yeah, because the salary just bumped up 25%. So now that's a reasonable deal, but everyone's like, that's crazy. There's no
I
way
think
you
that
give this guy 75
inflation,
for 4
right?
years.
I think that's pretty evident too with like every offseason. It feels like the highest paid player in NFL history has changed. Or at least the highest paid quarterback. I think that kind of proves that there's a little, an increase in people getting paid. I'm not going to get on the Dak thing again, but you can see that when you look at the highest paid players as well.
Well, I mean, we saw it this offseason. Max Crosby was the highest paid edge rusher for like 36 hours, and then it was Myles Garrett.
Yep.
On the highest paid. And now Trey Hendrickson for the Bengals is like, I'm not playing without a new deal. He could end up being the highest paid. So you could have that record broken 3 times in one offseason.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is very true. I think it's, to me, if I'm some of these teams with some of these contracts, I go, okay, I'm going to give you this. Go out there and see what other teams would give you. And I know that could really like hurt you in the long run, but if there's a team that's willing to pay Brock Purdy more than I'm willing to pay you, then go. Walk away, man. So I think that's how some of these teams have to think, because it's like the Eagles are a prime example of like, not only did they win the Super Bowl, but their money is so like, they're so good with their money. They like Jalen Hurts is not even like close to being their highest paid player or something like that. He's like the 4th or 5th guy, and that's where it's like, you can pay Saquon more money. It's like, you can continue to add. So that's going to be interesting, but yeah, it's a really weird time because you have some of these inflated deals, like Jerry said, where it was like, like Chandler Parsons got paid like $35 million a year or whatever it was. Like,
and it's like
crazy deals. But so, I mean, time will tell. Money in the NFL is big. I mean, so, you look at $265 million, he's 181 guaranteed. So it's I don't know, with the NFL contracts, 5 years could actually be 3 years or whatever. But no, it's one of those. I think for Brock, I don't think it'd be as crazy if Brock Purdy was like the first overall pick and you give him $265 million.
Right.
But you're Mr. Irrelevant. Now you're $265 million. He's always had that chip.
Where's the chip go now?
Yeah, I mean, now it's like I'm rich. Like, who knows? I'm rich now. You know what I mean? But
I mean, if it were me and I was Brock Purdy,
you'd stop playing.
I wouldn't stop playing, but I might get hurt on purpose.
Wow, heartless. You're heartless.
Who cares?
You're a you guy.
My family's set for the next couple of generations.
Not in California. You need to play more.
You might be right about that.
You need to add years onto your career.
Liberal state. I'll give you that.
You need to add on years.
Well, here, I have a question for you guys. What is the stat line or accomplishments Brock Purdy needs to have for you to go, this was money well spent?
Make it to the Super Bowl.
No, win a Super Bowl.
Make it to the Super Bowl.
No.
He's Mr. Irrelevant.
I don't care. Win a Super Bowl.
Make it to the 2 Super Bowls.
Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. 7 Super Bowls.
But I think too,
him,
like there are guys that are ahead, like we said, they're ahead of Brock Purdy that, like you said, they haven't won a Super Bowl. Like, so then we have to put them under that same kind of argument of what, like, how do you justify a Trevor Lawrence or a Dak Prescott? I don't know if it's, I think it's just you play within your contract. So if you are the 7th highest paid quarterback, you have to be, within the top 8 quarterbacks every season for the next 5 years to justify that. But yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily win a Super Bowl because, like you said, Caleb, all of those guys haven't won a Super Bowl. Right. So if that is the new thing that we're doing for Brock Purdy, we have to do it for those guys too.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, I just think if I'm paying you as a top 10 quarterback, you should make it to Super Bowl and you should win a Super Bowl. You should. That's just how I view it. It's just me personally, because if I'm paying you that much money and you're the quarterback, you're the most valuable guy to the franchise. Like, you should, if I'm paying you that much money, you should get us there and you should hoist the Lombardi Trophy. Now, like I said, history in the NFL shows when those guys, top 5, top 10 guys are paid, they may make it there, but you can't win it because of your team. But yeah, no, I think.
Well, and this is kind of funny because I know it's like we're looking at a different San Francisco team, but is Brock Purdy even the most valuable player on that team?
No, there's some people that argue Trent Williams left tackle.
Yeah, that or or every time Christian McCaffrey goes down, it's like, well, the 49ers season's over. So like, yeah, he got this huge contract, but is he even the most valuable player on his team? I would say no as well.
Yeah, probably not. It's just how, I mean, he's like, it's so Jimmy Garoppolo to me, like really, it really is.
Yeah.
And like, I get it, and that could just be Kyle Shanahan builds these system quarterbacks or whatever, but he's just so Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, gets his Super Bowl, could make the play to win the Super Bowl. You don't win it. Does he ever?
He was there.
He was there, but does he ever make it back? The world
probably not.
I will always stand for Brock Purdy. Great football name. So I wish him well. Fantastic football name.
It's Brock, and he went to Iowa State. There's nothing more Midwestern than that.
No.
Yes, there is. Purdy.
He's pretty good. Dude. That was a pretty ball.
It's a pretty good ball, yeah.
Jerry, how's the city buzzing now that you're in Chi-Town? Chirac, some would say. How's it
still fantastic. There's a dust storm here. That was probably the craziest thing.
Thanks for giving it to us.
That's one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Try being on a baseball diamond when 11-year-olds going through
that. But like, this was like if the baseball diamond was 30-foot skyscrapers. Because I've seen it on the baseball diamond. That's crazy. Being on like a high, like in a high area, and just seeing like this. Oh, here's this massive building. I can't see it anymore. In a place that is next to water. I'm like, and it doesn't. Which also like the beach. That's not making enough sand to do that. Like,
take a trip to the Middle East. You'll see it a lot.
It's just Chicago, Illinois. Like,
yeah,
the Saudis. It's the Saudis.
Yeah, it's the Saudis. Yeah, they're coming. They're coming back for their parking ticket fines.
Yeah,
they're
like the riders on the storm.
Yeah,
I got a text message today, and it was the Illinois toll road.
Yeah,
and it said you have to the 19th, and then you know how usually they put the TH on top of the 9. It said ST on it.
Yeah, Saudis. They're all over it.
What the hell is this?
No, it's just Chicago public schools.
No, I think the other funny thing about the dust storm that we had is it also like we had a storm come through the night before, so it made absolutely no sense. It wasn't like it was dry for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we just did that trade deal with the Saudis over there. They came back. They wanted to.
They're just bringing us the sand that
they come back.
Dropping it off.
They wanted to kill us with kindness, kill us with sand.
Is that what it was? Was that the new plane flying over?
Yeah, maybe it was.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
He's going to the Boeing factory in Seattle. That's what it was. Kicking up the dust.
Just dropping sand.
Some people say nukes are going to kill us. No, us Midwesterners, it's blowing sand. We're dead.
Yeah, they're going to have another dust bowl.
Never seen it before. Who would have thought?
I've seen plenty.
You're old enough to see stuff.
It messed with the old PTSD. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, no.
I had to walk down and like sit in the outfield.
Well, I'm sorry you had to deal with that again. Did it take you back to your porta potty days?
Let's not go there.
Things you used to do in those in the heat, 200 degrees?
Yeah, do what you got to do.
Well, you're a weirdo for doing that.
Got to do what you got to do. You'll understand someday.
I will never do what you did, but whatever. Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about? Any other hot topics around the world?
We're not going to hit Caitlin Clark's flagrant foul.
I mean, we could. I don't really talk much WNBA, but is there
I mean, I don't watch the game, but I've seen it on the TikToks.
Well, my problem with that, and this is just from like a media's perspective, and I know Jerry has this same mindset as I do when it comes to this kind of stuff, is like how is like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese went at each other. No, Angel Reese went at Caitlin Clark, and Caitlin Clark walked away.
Yeah.
Like, but the way
she was the bigger person.
It's just not that, but it's just the way we hype this stuff. Like, and the fact it was a flagrant 2 is ridiculous, but that's basketball nowadays. But I mean,
it was a flop.
It is what it is. It was a hard foul. She purposely fouled her. She told her because she was like, it's better not to give her 2 points, put her at the free throw line. That's basketball. And she's like, let's move on. So if she's Hack-a-Shaq and Angel Reese, I would feel good if I'm Angel Reese. It means I'm a good basketball player. So,
I like kind of over the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark stuff because it is evident like who the better player is.
Right.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen like the Angel Reese lowlights on like TikTok or whatever.
Oh, it's so funny.
Love
but
that
they are
guy.
like
So funny, dude.
like I can watch that for like 3 hours.
Bang!
Yeah. And then Caitlin Clark will just pull up from like Curry range and then just hit a 3. And then like it's I'm over it. Like Caitlin Clark has won the debate. She is the better player.
It's the
I
only
agree.
storyline they have for the WNBA.
Yeah, that's true too. That is
hate to say
true.
it. But like honestly, I mean, and I'm not trying to like super hate on Angel Reese here. Whatever, come at me. I don't care. But it's like when Lance Stevenson blew in LeBron's ear.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's kind of
Well,
like the level that it is.
I fell in love with Lance Stevenson when he did that.
I bet
And
you did because
He made a Big Three team too. Did you see that?
I did
Big
see
Three. Wow, talking WNBA and Big Three.
I know.
Hot topics.
There's not much on.
The hot topics.
This story would be doing numbers if the Chicago Sky didn't lose by 30.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kind
that
of
too.
hard, really hard to make this a bigger deal than it is when you lose by 30. Like that, it kind of takes away from the, oh, was it a hard foul? Did it really matter? Like there's the season opener, you lost by 30. Like,
Well, when they come to Chicago, are you going to go to the game?
no. Can't confirm. Will not be there. What is it? They have like Haley Van Lith now. It's like, okay, great. Fever by 30, literally.
She's
Like
not
that's
bad.
really what
Yeah.
happened there. Like, so it's like cool. One fine moment that you can push on the social media app. Like Bleacher Report gets their clicks. You know, the Twitter video goes around. TikToks get their views. It wasn't even close. Like, great. Draymond Green of the NBA fouled Steph Curry. Like,
Best analogy
you
I've
watch
ever
a real
heard.
comp. There you go.
No, that's an even better analogy than what I had actually. Yeah, Angel Reese is Draymond and Caitlin Clark is Steph Curry. The only difference is
They're not on
Draymond
the
and
same
Steph
team.
played on the same team and they're on opposite teams. But no, it goes back to yes, the Fever blew them out by 30 points. Caitlin Clark had a triple double. I think I also saw this crazy stat. I don't know if it's fully true, but like it was like 20 points and then 10 plus assists in a game. Like Caitlin Clark already is like second all time on that list,
Yeah, she had triple double.
which is crazy to me. She is reinventing the game. I think they're trying to push this as like the Magic Bird era for the WNBA, and the problem is Angel Reese is nowhere near either of those players.
That's
Caitlin
true.
Clark is, but Angel Reese isn't. It's all media driven. It's not that big of a deal. Like Jerry said, they won by 30. Who cares?
Tougher to make it a story. Does anyone else have anything? Because I will end us on Saturday.
I don't have anything.
No,
I'm
I'm good. Go ahead and
gotta go
finish this
walk
off,
the
Jer.
All right. See, I don't know who is religious or not here in the chat. Everything else, I know we talk God a lot because of the Pope. Love that. If you are, send prayers out to our friends here in St. Louis. Tough storms over the weekend, as we talked about a little bit with the dust storm. Before that, bad tornado ripped through a lot of the actual city. I know we talk about with tornadoes. It's like, oh, it hit this area that not tons of people know about or isn't hugely populated. Now it hit some real places with a lot of people, a lot of folks. Lost a couple lives. It's always tough. So religious or not, keep those people in your prayers. We're not the only region. I know I'm in Chicago, but I obviously live in that area. A lot of severe storms happening around. So keep those people in your thoughts and prayers. We're sending love out to them. I am, obviously. But we're in that type of year. It's always tough. But people are reeling. Show them some love. Think about them if you can. That's all I
Yes,
ask.
sir.
Amen.
Very well said, Jerry. Yeah, prayers up St. Louis. Like I said, we around here, storms are a big deal. We know how that hits and how it affects.
Yeah,
So,
took out my electricity
yeah,
Friday night.
took out my electricity as well, but there was lost lives in St. Louis. So we're praying for the families, those people. Hopefully everything gets back on track. I know Jerry will be covering it there in the dirty St. Louis on the CBS local affiliate, like he does. 4. Oh,
Channel
big
4,
good
baby.
number. Look at this guy, Channel 4 and CBS for all your up-to-date news and weather highlights in St. Louis. Jerry will have you covered. Behind the camera. He'll be behind the camera.
Thank God.
No. We get him to be in front of the camera. St. Louis gets him behind. See, who gets the better trade-off? I think us.
Talent
I
gap.
agree.
True talent gap here.
Yeah.
You put me in front of the camera with a prompter, bad.
Does he like being in? Does he like it from the front, or does he like it from behind?
Okay. All right. We're gonna...
I can't answer that as a Catholic boy.
It's a great show. We thank Jonathan for joining us once again. He may be banned for quite some time. He'll probably be in the penalty box.
I've been way worse.
He'll be in the penalty box for probably the next month.
Because I said I didn't like commie sports.
We
I'm American. It's Memorial Week. Memorial Weekend's coming up.
okay. All right.
I am a real
Okay.
American.
That'll do it. That'll do it for the show. Thanks for watching.